G'day guys, how's it going? Welcome back, of course, to the Time Bomb channel, and I hope all is good in your part of the world. Today on the channel we have been lent this fine little beastie by Timor Watches. You may recall that I met them at the Watch It, I'll pop a link up there, watch fair recently. True to their word, they very kindly lent me this one in for review. Note the word lent, sadly for me, this watch will be going back to them, so this is not a paid, sponsored or anything like that kind of a review of any sort. Nevertheless, Benjamin Briggs, one of the brother owners of Timor Watches brand now, gave up some of his time to have a natter on the phone so I could glean a little bit more info on what they're doing with the brand, and I'll weave in his input into my blurb today. So just quickly cracking the box there so that we can see what we're looking at. This is the TIMOR Heritage Field ATP. These are limited editions. 50 of these of the automatics and then 50 of the hand winders. Just to build a bit of a picture in your mind of what kind of a watch nutter Benjamin is, his first watch was a Power Rangers watch, though he said that he quickly progressed to a second-hand Panerai during his time in the British Army. Not everyone, I think, would be that honest. Certainly tells you a lot about him. Our Heritage Field ATP. I mean, looking at this, obviously, it's a remake or a recreation of one of Timor's first watches, and I think often there is a danger with recreating history that, in appealing to nostalgia, watch brands and other types of brands can sometimes end up changing all of the specs for no reason, and they lose any faithfulness to the originals, and they prefer to view these sort of recreations as cash cows. Just ask Seiko. But I think Timor are doing the complete opposite. Let me just pause there and zoom in a little bit. So up until recently, Timor as a brand had pretty much vanished until Benjamin and his brother had started making inquiries. And I think their drive and passion were rewarded because their inquiries were welcomed, and they now have their own recreated watch brand. So massive respect to them for that. The ATP that we're looking at here today, the ATP standing for Army Trade Pattern. And essentially that was a set of requirements for issued watches to the military, which was essentially then the precursor to the more famous, more popular WWW watches, aka the Dirty Dozens, which are so popular today, and Timor have faithfully reproduced their version here, and as you can see, it's absolutely freaking gorgeous. Yes, please take my money. I love one of those. But back to the ATP that we have on the show today. So these were watches that were first issued in the late 1930s, and they clearly have a lot of influence of those first military watches of the World War I think. And listening to Benjamin talk about his new ownership of the brand, very easy for me to see how he views his role as one of sort of stewardship of a historical brand, and it's a brand that's DNA is defined entirely by Swiss quality and military heritage. Let's crack on with some key specs then. So we're looking at 36.5 mils across. So I've popped the crown out there to keep it at the 10-2. It's quite a narrow or shortish north to south of 45.5 mils. It's then 11 mils deep, and then these lugs are 18 mils. Now, just talking of the lugs, it was one of the first things I noticed when I popped him out of the box. Noticed that there's quite a significant gap there between the end of the strap and the body. It certainly isn't my favorite part of the watch because you get a lot of fresh air coming through here, but thinking about it more objectively, I think it's kind of logical, because if you look at the way those lugs really do just drop down and curve down, that by placing your lug holes inside there is really the only feasible option. So again, it's probably been dictated to them by those original designs. The watch itself weighs in at 94 grams, and for a smallish watch, I quite like the weight because it actually makes you feel the steel head here, rather than it just being then sort of a sliver of steel there. I think it's got a lot more wrist presence, and personally I really like it, especially, as I say, because it's, for my standard tastes, it's a little bit small. These come with then 50 meters worth of watery goodness, again in keeping with that heritage field style. It does have a domed sapphire up top, but as you can see, it's a really very faint dome, and just a tiny lip at the top there. The dial, I mean, you don't need me to tell you, is absolutely gorgeous. Beautiful rail track around the edge there with your loomed hour markers. I'll throw up some close-up shots because I don't think I'll be able to pick it up here on the video. But I mean, you can just notice the shine off those painted hour hands. Again, just brilliant quality work. I mean, really is. And then also note the length, one of my pet peeves. The minute hand is deep into that minute track. It's absolutely perfect. And then also notice the same thing with the seconds hand on the sub dial. Again, just a real preference of mine that the minute hand and the seconds hand actually interact with the markers as they're sweeping through and past. So again, brilliant attention to detail there. Of course, as well as I just mentioned, the loom pips on those hour markers, we've got that nostalgic vibe here. It's certainly more of a subtle, soft loomage rather than glowing manner for the loom nutter. But again, I think that is clearly more in keeping with the whole purpose of the watch. Buzzing away inside, we have a Sellita, and you've got a choice of the SW260 being the auto and the SW216 being the hand winder. And interestingly, Benjamin also told me that working with Sellita was very easy in that they were accommodating, welcoming, helpful. And that wasn't the treatment that he got from several of the other Swiss movement brands. I'll leave you to guess which ones he's talking about. As it says on the dial, all of the watch then is built by watchmakers in Switzerland, and I think that certainly adds a lot to the price tag and the quality assurance. The 316 steel, which I was referencing before, and again I'll have to throw you up some close-ups here. It's got this beautiful fine brushed satin finish, and it's sublime. I mean, yeah, I cannot fault it at all. The finishing on it is exemplary. And I'm so glad that they didn't polish this up, because I think in having done so, it would have created or completely changed the whole dynamic of this watch. I mean, yeah, it's as you can see from those photos, simply damn brilliant finishing. Crown on the other side is unsigned, and I'm guessing that that's historically accurate. But again, I'll pop you up a close-up there. You've got some beautiful deep grooves of knurling here. And then, as I say, we pop it out and we've got that wonderful, very affirmative, solid, reassuring action here on the hands. Very nice indeed. Back onto the case back there, which I just popped you up here. You can see again, it's pretty utilitarian. Again, there's no brash engravings or anything like that. But again, probably in keeping with the originals. And then, of course, right at the bottom there, you've got your limited 50 number as well. They did also then kindly send a couple of additional straps just to see what it looks like. These are new straps that they're offering, and I think on the black, the ATP, it creates a slightly more somber appearance to the overall appearance of the watch, which I like. And then the green, it's sort of like a lightish green, not fully monocolor, and possibly a little bit more playful. I do like also notice, of course, that they've made these quick releases, as it also prevents those very annoying little scratches just appearing where you don't want them to. And as I say, with that finishing on the case here, I think, yeah, you'd just be gutted, wouldn't you, if you nicked that up. I sometimes forget, though, talking of nicking up the steel, when looking at these watches, that these, of course, were actually designed as true beta watches. But I know if I had one, I'd be treated with a lot more care. Benjamin also told me that the Triple W, the Dirty Dozen version, they field tested it for 1.5 years properly to ensure that it was robust and the quality held up to proper usage. So these things will take a little bit of a knocking, and it's not going to upset them too much. I think in general, though, I mean, the watch, whilst it's simply gorgeous and so finessed, in its finishing and lines and minor details, tiny details, I don't think these watches are going to be worn by bling addicts looking to flash their socio-economic importance. These watches are far more humble. I think owning a watch with the name Timor at the top there on it is going to give many of us a very pleasant, historical, tingly feeling on wrist. But as limited editions, these do come in at 950 UK pounds, so you will need to save up your pennies. However, they do offer substantial military discounts, and they're also looking at other ways to engage with serving members of the community. So if that's you, I would strongly suggest getting in touch with them, because that might assist in making your purchase a little easier. Benjamin also talked to me about future releases and how they will be in keeping with what Timor actually released. So if you want any clues around that, I'd suggest having a look at their 1950s catalogues. Something Benjamin also told me was, as a newcomer to the industry, how open and welcoming the British watch world is. So it's definitely on us Brits to keep it that way. So please remember that when you are dealing with the watch snobs out there. So a humble little timepiece, but packing a serious amount of history into it. And as I say, the design there, very clean, but just enough detail in there, I think, to make this a really fascinating and fun watch to wear. It's been a brilliant experience for me working with a watch like this, as it's allowed me to connect with the brand and the owners of the brand in a way that I've never been able to do before. Massive thanks to Benjamin and Timor for this one. I just only wish them every success in the future. Guys, if you've got one of these watches and you've been wearing it for a couple of months, couple of years, etc., then you want to share with us your experience of it. Or if you have one of the originals and make us all desperately jealous, then please do drop us a comment down below. All right, so that's a wrap for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks as always for your time and for your view. Massive thanks again to TIMOR Watches for this. I mean, just a beautiful little timepiece. Really proud and very lucky to have had it on the channel today. Of course, until the next vid, this is your host, the Bombardier, signing off. Cheers, guys.